Okay, one of the things I like to do, uh, is go into the PDF document for the math book, and if you hit Control and F at the same time, a little search box will pop up. Looks like this, and if I'm looking for something in particular, I might type in a page number or something. But I'm going to type in here prime cost because I know that's on the page. And let's see, yeah, it takes me right to the page I'm looking for. So prime cost and total manufacturing cost is the topic of this lesson. Manufacturers make the products they sell. They must keep the records of their factory costs so they can control those costs and set selling prices that will produce a net income instead of a net loss. Um, there are three kinds of factory costs. You have raw materials. These are the things that go into the product. That could include packaging. It includes the ingredients. If you're making cherry pies, it would include the pie tin, the crust, the cherries, all the stuff that goes into it, including the packaging. Direct labor costs. These are the wages of the workers who are directly involved in making the product as it moves through the factory, as it says right here. And then we have something called factory overhead. This includes expenses that cannot be directly tied to producing a product. For example, it includes salaries and wages of factory managers, supervisors, inspectors, other workers who do not directly to work directly on the manufactured products. These are the things that you have. They're called fixed costs. It's also called operating expenses. That includes the rent, the building rent, depreciation of equipment, which we haven't yet talked about, heat, power, insurance, factory supplies, all these things that you tend to have no matter whether you make anything or sell anything or not. So, a couple simple formulas here on page 383. Prime costs are the things that go into the product plus the wages for the people who work directly on it. That's prime. Here it is. Whereas total manufacturing cost is prime, which is raw materials and direct labor, plus factory overhead. So all those things, like up here, these are examples. Salaries and wages of factory managers. So basically, total manufacturing cost is the total cost of the factory. I'm going to jump over to Excel and we're going to kind of go through some numbers real quick. So let's take, for example, we have this income statement, which we've worked a little bit at the beginning of the trimester. This is going to incorporate kind of all these things, and I'm going to hope to kind of paint you a slightly bigger picture of how prime costs and total manufacturing costs and overhead fit into what we call the income statement. This is the profit and loss statement. This is what business people spend a ton of time talking about. Everything kind of lives here. So we start with sales revenue. Let's just use a nice round number like $100,000. This is money we take in from selling to customers. Then next we have direct labor. Again, this is the money spent on workers who work on the product. It's part of prime costs, as we just talked about. Raw materials, money spent on ingredients and things that become part of the product, including packaging and so on. Also part of prime costs. So these two things here are prime costs, direct labor and raw materials. This is right from the book here. Direct labor, raw materials. So what we do is we take the sales revenue, we're going to subtract, so I wrote minus here, direct labor, right? Raw materials, we're going to subtract that as well. So if we have $100,000 and we subtract $20,000 and we subtract another $40,000 for raw materials, we have what we call gross profit. Gross profit would be what's left. 100,000 minus 20 minus 40 is what we have left is 40,000. So this formula, as you can see, is right up here. It's basically saying take sales revenue and subtract direct labor, subtract raw materials. What you have is gross profit. I'm just going to hit enter right there. All right, so that's gross profit. I'm going to bold that. Okay. That was a control by B, by the way. Then what I want to do is I want to subtract factory overhead. Again, these are the fixed costs, operating expenses. Again, fixed factory overhead is explained right here. Expenses that cannot be directly tied to producing a product. They're kind of very general expenses for running the factory. Wages of factory managers, supervisors, inspectors, and so on. People who aren't really directly touching the product or making the product. Plus all these other things like rent and heat and insurance and other things. Okay, so let's say that we have factory overhead. Let's call that 30,000. Oops. All right, and net profit, we'll write a little formula here. It's going to be basically equal to gross profit minus factory overhead. Okay, so this is gross profit minus factory overhead. Okay, and this number is what everybody's all worried about in business. This is referred to as the bottom line. Okay, net profit. We can have a nice big gross profit of $40,000, but if our factory overhead, let's just take an example, is $50,000, then I have a what they call being in the red. It means it's a negative number. So that 40,000 minus 50,000 would give us a negative net profit, which is actually a loss, profit and loss. Okay, so a loss would be a red number. A loss is a negative number. Okay, so that's kind of a little mini lesson on income statements and what's included. And I wanted to highlight why we're even talking about prime costs and total manufacturing costs. This fits right into something we'll talk later in chapter 9, but I just wanted to kind of expose you to it earlier so that you'd kind of see where we're going with this. All right, so you're going to have an assignment to recreate this at some point, and I just wanted to see how show you how the formulas are written, and give you some explanation as to how these numbers are calculated, show you the formulas and so on. All right. Hope you enjoyed the lesson, and that's it for the moment.